Popular animated series South Park could face legal action following last week's episode attacking a royal couple.
You've lived a life with the royal family, you've had everything handed to you, but you say your life has been hard, and now you've written all about it in your new book, When?
Did you see what they just did?
What'd they do?
They went at Harry. They went at Harry and Meghan.
She's suing
And they're
him.
trying to sue him. It's like,
Okay, well, Meghan is reported, the Duchess of Sussex, actually, is reportedly overwhelmed and upset by that cartoon. Look who's here now.
I love you and I'm willing to do whatever I need to do in order to be with you, Meghan.
I think it's important we do this ourselves, Harry, and not live off your family.
I agree. We'll just have to find a way to make £50 billion on our own.
Did the couple, I mean, could the couple sue over South Park? I mean, you can sue anybody for anything in America.
It'll never work. The U.S. has a First Amendment, and especially the category of satire protects them, and they're public figures.
Now, there are rumours they might be suing because they sue everybody over everything normally, especially if it's true.
We don't need to be a brand, do we? No more magazines and Netflix shows. We really can live a normal life.
I think if Harry sees this, which he might, if someone sends him a clip, he'll probably.
He'll have
laugh
seen it
about
all, but he can't.
It does seem perfect, doesn't it? We can have a fresh start here. Lead a normal life and have babies.
But in the episode, instead, the characters were referred to as the Prince and Princess of Canada.
someone wanted a lot of attention, and now they got it. That was the whole episode.
That was the ep.
Yeah.
That was the
Is
premise.
that what it was? We want privacy, and they keep going on every magazine.
Reality is there. If you're offended, then perhaps you're seeing something in a self-mirror.
I don't think Meghan's buying it, Kosher, and I don't think there's much on the inside. There's talk that the Royals are going to sue over this episode now. It would be the best court case in the world, and then South Park could do another episode based on the court case.
My advice to you, Meghan and Harry, kind of just enjoy the moment. It will pass, as they say.
Braveheart, I was like, look at this shit, dude. Fuck the British.
There you go.
Yeah.
He thinks that it's pretty hilarious. And I think it was George Clooney who once said, if you haven't been on South Park, then you're obviously doing something wrong. I mean,
Tom Bower has spent years studying Meghan Markle. He wrote the book. Literally. And when South Park finished airing that episode, Bower said something that stopped people cold. She wasn't expecting this. Not the jokes, not the timing, not the fact that millions of people watched and laughed, and then went looking for more. If you want more deep dives like this, make sure to subscribe to Royal Archives. Here's what you need to understand first. The South Park episode didn't come out of nowhere. It came out of a moment, a very specific, very calculated moment, and that Meghan's own team set in motion. November 2025. Harper's Bazaar, a cover shoot that was supposed to change the conversation. The lighting was soft, the poses were deliberate, the interview read less like a profile and more like a carefully worded statement of intent. But critics noticed immediately. So did Bower. He'd seen this pattern before. In his biography, Revenge, Bower documented how Meghan approaches public image, not as a celebrity managing press, but as someone engineering a narrative. Every interview placed, every photo approved, every quote shaped. The Harper's Bazaar piece fit that description almost too neatly. The writer used language that sounded less like journalism and more like something handed over pre-written. Words like rebirth, purpose, reclaiming her voice. Bower's read on Meghan has always been blunt. She controls the story until she can't. And in December 2025, she couldn't. South Park's The Worldwide Privacy Tour had already aired back in February 2023, and it was brutal then. But the internet has a long memory. The moment the Bazaar cover dropped, Wydenko clips from that episode started recirculating, side-by-side comparisons, memes, the animated Meghan standing in dramatic wind, dress billowing, while reporters tried to figure out if she was posing for a crown she never received. Viewers didn't need to be told what they were looking at. They already knew. That's where things stopped making sense. For Meghan's team, at least. The cover was supposed to reset the narrative. Instead, it handed the internet a perfect punchline. And the punchline already existed. 2 years old, ready to go. All it needed was a reason to resurface. And Meghan gave it one. Bower's response, reported across British media, was pointed. He noted that this is what happens when image management becomes the entire strategy. There's no substance underneath to absorb the blow when the joke lands, so there's nothing to push back against it. Because the thing being mocked is the image itself, the performance.
You've lived a life with the royal family, you've had everything handed to you, but you say your life has been hard, and now you've written all about it in your new book, Where?
The carefully staged vulnerability. South Park didn't invent the criticism. It just animated it. And here's what raised eyebrows across royal commentary circles. Meghan's team went quiet, fast, no statement, no friendly counter-interview placed within 48 hours, no subtle pushback through a compliant outlet. The silence was unusual. People who follow Sussex PR patterns closely noted it immediately. Charlotte Griffiths at the Daily Mail flagged the absence of any coordinated response as significant in itself. When Meghan's machine goes quiet, Griffiths observed, it's usually because they've assessed the damage and decided engagement makes it worse. That's a specific kind of loss, not a news cycle you ride out. Shaking a moment that sticks, because South Park clips don't expire. They live on YouTube, on TikTok, in comment sections. Every time Meghan launches something new, a brand, an interview, a Netflix project, those clips will resurface. That's not speculation. That's just how the internet works with satire that connects. Bauer understood this. He said as much. Once you become the joke becomes part of your identity. You don't outrun it, you manage around it, if you're skilled enough.
Braveheart, I was like, look at this shit, dude. Fuck the British.
There you go.
Yeah.
And the Harper's Bazaar rollout suggested the skill level had dropped. Something about this doesn't add up. If the team behind the Bazaar cover knew the South Park episode existed, and they had to know, why release a shoot that was almost designed to invite the comparison? Dramatic lighting, minimal makeup styled, to look effortless but clearly not. And poses that leaned into a kind of quiet suffering. It matched the parody's aesthetic so closely that some observers online began asking whether anyone in Meghan's inner circle had actually watched the episode before signing off on the shoot. Bauer's answer to that, at least in the way his commentary has been interpreted, is simple. They watched it. They thought they could outlast it. They were wrong, and that's not even the part that rattled people most. Because while the memes were spreading and the late-night hosts were sharpening their material, something else was quietly happening behind the scenes. Something that Bauer hinted at. Something that Meghan's team had absolutely no playbook for.
I don't think Meghan's buying it, Kosher, and I don't think there's much on the inside. There's talk that the royals are going to sue over this episode now.
The mockery wasn't staying in the tabloid lane anymore. It had crossed over. That's the phrase being used in commentary circles. Crossed over. Meaning it was no longer a story being driven by royal watchers, Sussex critics, or British tabloids. By December 2025, the South Park comparisons were showing up in mainstream American entertainment coverage. Entertainment Weekly, Variety comment sections. Pop culture podcasts that had never once covered a royal story in their lives. Bauer has written extensively about how American audiences process Meghan differently than British ones. In the UK, the skepticism about her narrative is baked in. Years of reporting, contradictions on the record, the Oprah interview fallout, the Netflix series, all of it. But in the US, Meghan had maintained a softer landing. Sympathy, benefit of the doubt, a general sense that the British press had been unfair. The Harper's Bazaar cover was aimed squarely at that American goodwill. And for about 72 hours, it worked. Then the clips hit TikTok. Not the British commentary clips, the actual South Park footage. And American audiences, many of whom had never seen the original 2023 episode, watched it fresh. For them, it wasn't a rehash. It was new. The animated couple demanding privacy while appearing on every available platform. The cartoon Meghan delivering speeches about wanting to be left alone, while a spotlight followed her everywhere she went. They didn't need context. The joke explained itself. Across social media, one question kept coming up. Why does the parody feel more honest than the interview? That's a brutal thing for a PR team to read. And they were reading it. Every mention tracked, every comment flagged.
I think if Harry sees this, which he might if someone sends him a clip, he'll probably
he'll have
laugh
seen it
about
all, but he can't.
But here's what made it worse. The people asking that question weren't trolls. They weren't royal obsessives. If they were casual observers who'd clicked on a clip, watched the Bazaar cover story, and drawn their own conclusions. Bauer saw this coming. Not this specific moment. No, but this shape of moment. In Revenge, he made the case that Meghan's public strategy carries a structural weakness. It requires the audience to always extend good faith. The moment the audience stops extending it, even briefly, the entire architecture becomes visible. The seams show, and once people see the seams, they can't unsee them. That's what December 2025 was. A seam moment, and it didn't stop with the public. Growing chatter in entertainment industry circles suggested that the Bazaar rollout had made some executives nervous. Not about Meghan personally, but about the risk calculation around associating with someone whose image had become this easy to parody. No one said it publicly. That's not how Hollywood works. But the conversations were happening. People were watching to see how she handled it. She didn't handle it, not visibly. And that silence, the same silence Charlotte Griffiths noted.
Okay, well, Meghan is reported, the Duchess of Sussex actually, is reportedly overwhelmed and upset by that cartoon. Look who's here now.
Was being interpreted in two completely different ways depending on who you asked. Some said it was smart, disciplined. Don't feed the machine. Others, including voices closer to the Bauer school of thought, read it differently. They saw a team that had run out of moves, not choosing silence, arriving at it. Here's what's raising eyebrows now. Months later, Meghan has continued launching the As Ever brand, the Netflix projects, the appearances, but something in the tone has shifted. The grand poetic language of the Bazaar interview hasn't reappeared. The rebirth framing went quiet. Yet, whether that's a deliberate course correction or simply a response to feedback, no one outside her circle knows for certain. What's observable is the change. Bauer's broader point, and it's one that keeps resurfacing in royal commentary, is that image without anchoring eventually collapses under its own weight. You can sustain a narrative for a long time if the audience is willing to carry it with you. But the second a joke cuts through, the audience stops carrying. They start watching instead. South Park cut through, not because the writers are cruel, not because they targeted Meghan specifically out of personal animus, but because the material was there. The interview gave them everything they needed, the tone, the framing, the self-mythology, and they used it. Trey Parker and Matt Stone have done this for decades. Yeah, they don't punch at people. They hold up a mirror, and in November 2025, the mirror was the Harper's Bazaar shoot. The question Bauer leaves open, the one no one has a clean answer to yet, is whether this is recoverable. Not in the short term. Short term, you move on, you pivot, you stay busy, but in the longer arc, when the South Park clip is still circulating 2 years from now, when every new interview gets compared to it automatically, when the joke has become part of how people introduce her name in conversation. That's not a news cycle, that's a reputation tax, paid indefinitely. And if Bauer is right, and his track record on Meghan suggests he usually is, she knew that the moment the clip started trending, that's what "she wasn't expecting this" really means. Not the parody itself. She'd survived that in 2023. And what she wasn't expecting was the timing. The way it landed on top of a cover she'd worked months to perfect. The way it made the cover look like the joke. There's still more to this story, because the fallout didn't stop at the internet. And what happened next, in the weeks after the Bazaar issue hit stands, is something her team is still dealing with. Stay with Royal Archives. We're not done yet.